Hello and welcome to this presentation of MTSS, Multi-Tiered System of Support. I am Tom Stucker. I am the Intervention Team Facilitator here at East Garner. Most of you have probably already met me. If not, we'll get to know each other. My teammates include Deborah Darlington, who will be working with 2nd and 3rd grade, and Glenvera Williams, who will be working in 4th and 5th grade. So this is a presentation that I created a couple of years ago to share with the whole staff. I know that's kind of difficult at this time, so I'm making this screencast for you guys to watch this video at your earliest convenience whenever you want. And if you have any further questions, just feel free to ask us. If you're a veteran teacher, most of this is probably already known to you. If you're new to East Garner or to Wake County or to teaching, some of this may be new information. Again, MTSS is a big part of our school support. It's our system of support. So there's lots of information that I will not be able to share with you in a 10-minute video, but this at least will give you a start. And if you have further questions, you can always ask us, of course. So what is MTSS? It's a multi-tiered system of supports. It allows teachers to quickly identify student needs and the best methods to address them. These can be needs of individual students or groups of students related to academics, behavior, or both. The idea is to get each and every student, those with profound needs, those who are exceptionally gifted, and all those in between, what he or she needs to be successful. MTSS is a prominent part of Wake County's Vision 2020 instructional blueprint. Why MTSS? Why do we do this? It will make all students more successful in school and on track for graduation while preparing them to be college or career ready. MTSS has been implemented and proven effective in districts across the country. Now we're going to start with the intervention matrix. This is basically the guide that directs what we do with our systems of support. Now I'll share this document with you, but there are links in here. This is East Garner's intervention matrix. Here, let me spread that out. You can't see that. Let me move this down. And it's a big, long document. I will share this with you as well. Feel free to read it. It's got everything you need to know about the steps in the process. But what I've done is I've made an intervention matrix at a glance, which is what I'm going to show you now. That's what this document is. Sorry, playing around with the screencast. This is at a glance, and basically what it describes is the steps in the process. You start up here in the green. This is the core. This is what you'll be doing in class. Good first teaching is 100% of the students participate. Effective if at least 80% of your students are learning. So basically, if you're teaching reading, you're teaching a lesson, your curriculum is going along, and 80% of your students are progressing, you're good. We don't need to make a core plan. But if your class is having problems, we may need to create a core plan to help with your teaching, especially if you're a new teacher. Don't stress. This isn't evaluative or anything like that. If you find students do need support, that's what Tier 2, or we call supplemental now, comes into play. And there's guides for, there's checkpoints for identifying students who need to be moved into this supplemental intervention stage. And at PLT, that's when you would bring up students when you guys do your kid talk. If you find a student who's struggling with reading or math or behavior, you're going to discuss them at kid talk, and we'll problem solve things to do first. If there's things you can do in the classroom in core, we'll try that first. But if that's not successful, then we can create an intervention plan. And that's what the Tier 2 supplemental part is. We'll come up with an intervention plan and activities to do to support the student to catch up to the rest of the class. And then moving on down, you go to Tier 3, which is intensive. If the student that you chose to give supplemental interventions isn't successful, we can move them to more intensive interventions, which is smaller group, more time with the intervention, and I'll explain a little bit more of that coming up. This is the early warning system. This is in ECATS. ECATS is the statewide system we use to store all the data, intervention plans, behavior data. The early warning system is simply a guide for you to the indicators of needs using data. The closed shapes show that interventions are, closed shapes indicate need. So if they're red, they're going to need support. If they're yellow, they need support. Green is good. Blue is above. And then if they have open shapes, that means they have interventions. Open shapes with numbers and check marks mean that interventions and progress monitoring have taken place. And again, we can dig into this deeper later, but that's what ECATS will look like. To identify students, we will use ISOL. It represents the 4 key domains of learning. Looking closer at these domains helps to ensure that a full range of relevant explanations of student problems are examined. We look at the instruction, how the curriculum is taught, the curriculum, what is taught, the environment, where the instruction is taking place, and the learner, who is being taught. These are some flow charts that we use to guide our movement through the process. This is a reading flow chart, and again, these will all be shared, and these are the math flow charts. Core plans. As a PLT, analyze core instruction, curriculum, and environment to determine if 80% of your students' subgroups are at benchmark. If not, a core plan may be created based on a SIP SMART goal. The next step is supplemental, like I mentioned before. This is developed for students who are in need of supports in addition to core. Students can be grouped based upon a similar specific area of need, and we use a database problem-solving document to guide our discussions and use of MTSS Explorer. Actually, now it's called ECATS. You see this thing's 2 years old. So this is that first group of students when you bring up and you notice something's just not clicking, they're not progressing like they should, and you think they need support. And that's when you will discuss with PLT and your case managers, and we will create an intervention plan if needed. And beyond that, like I said, tier 3, this is intensive, is more focused. Intensive intervention may include a change in the intervention, smaller group size, and or more time using the intervention. These group sizes will be from 1 to 3, and they'll be pulled out of the classroom. Well, we'll see what happens with the virtual teaching, but ideally that's what it is. These are examples of the progress monitoring charts in ECATS. For the supplemental students, they'll be progress monitored every 20 days. And iStation, it automatically does that when they sign in and take their ISIP every month. If we create plans for students more intensive, they'll be progress monitored in iStation or Dreambox every 10 days. And we'll have to do that via on-demand assessments. If after intensive interventions, all efforts have been possible, have been exhausted, we've tried this new smaller group with the student, we can decide to continue with intensive interventions and change that intervention, or we can decide to refer the team for the special education team to see if there's possible developmental issues that we can't see. Quickly about behavior. Behavior is important, if not more important, to the success of the student. Everything discussed in this presentation pertains to behavior as well. Further conversations with your PLT will take place when students are identified as early as possible who may need support following school expectations. Now, again, being in a virtual setting, you may not see a lot of behaviors except for kids unmuting themselves and calling out. But when they come into the building, it might be a totally different thing. You may see things that you did not see when they were on the computer sitting across from your screen. So don't be afraid to bring those up at meetings. And then what we do is we do the same thing we do when we do with reading and math. We're going to follow this flow chart where we will identify behavior that you're noticing. If after working with your PLT and doing some just teacher things, changing seats, a little behavior contract, if that doesn't work and the student's still doing the same behavior, we can track that behavior. We need to track that behavior for 10 days to get some data, and then we'll use that data as a baseline to create a behavior chart. Then your team, maybe the school psychologist will come up with interventions, activities to help that student be the best they can be and follow classroom expectations. And we'll track that progress for a number of weeks and then decide what to do then. Some students just continue the behavior plan, or we can even move them to more intensive behaviors. And once we get to that point, there is a chance for a referral to special ed if needed. All right. I know I went through this very fast. I'm trying to limit this video to 10 or so minutes so you guys can view it at PLT or just on your own. Now, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. I'll come and talk to you. Ms. Glenvera Williams for grades 4 and 5, or Ms. Darlington for grades 2 and 3. Okay, well, I hope this wasn't too long. Hope it helped you understand a little bit more about what we do and what MTSS is. So reach out if you need help, if you have any questions. Thanks.